everyone. Welcome back to Sin City Crypto. My name is David. I'll be one of your co-hosts. And today, like every single weekday, we're coming at you live from our studio in Las Vegas, Nevada with our daily live show. Today, we are discussing more news from Grayscale's victory against the SEC as they are looking to unlock Bitcoin and crypto's potential. We have a video clip from Michael Sonnenschein, the CEO of Grayscale. We have new odds of a Bitcoin ETF approval with the new Grayscale win. We're also talking about Binance exiting a large market and much, much more. But first, here is your other co-host, Rob.
Hola! It's your boy, Big Rob, back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto. If it's your first time checking us out, well, welcome to the club. Second of all, we're known for this entertainment stuff. It's also on the cryptocurrency subject. Old, boring, and stale information that other people give you. We do it in the fun and sexy way. That's right. Did Bitcoin hit 30K?
No. Damn it. No. In fact, it's retraced down to 27.1.
Were you ever
We're going to talk about
Were you ever good at tracing?
Tracing?
Yeah, you know, you go to do a picture.
Yes, very good.
You put the little transparent paper over there.
Yes.
Good at that? Okay.
Yeah, it was very good, actually. I won a competition in high school.
Wow.
Idiot.
Congratulations.
Now, before we get started, today's 4K live stream is brought to you by channel sponsor Cam's Blue Wire Technology. If you want to learn how they can help your business maximize your IT, networking, and cybersecurity, visit bluewiretech.com or simply click the link in the description of this video. Now,
Did you know what we know what happened today,
what?
David?
What?
Something pretty amazing.
Huh?
Want to know what it is?
Sure.
It's 9,500 subscribers, man. We are only 500 away. We're only 500 away from that 10,000 mark.
Damn.
Add another zero on this altcoin, baby.
So after we hit 10K, it's not going to count subscribers in tens anymore. It's going to count them in hundreds. So for the number to change, we have to go up by at least 100.
Okay.
See what I did there?
No,
I don't
I'm
know what I did there
confused
either.
as well.
Same. Now, you know, I was at home yesterday and I was thinking about Rocco a lot, and I was like, I love Rocco. I miss Rocco. Let me
I have
see.
a feeling something Italian or food related is going to pop up. It's one or the other. It has
Has
to
to
be.
be something disgusting. I already know.
Let-
For sure.
Wow, Rocco, that's messed up, bro. And I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can find something.
Disgusting.
Video of Rocco. You know, I can't FaceTime him because he has Android. And so, well, I did stumble across this. And although this is not Rocco, my immediate reaction was, wow, I think this might be Rocco. Or Rocco.
I can see your laptop.
Yeah, I'm sure you can't. But press the button anyways.
Okay. I really can't see.
Oh.
I can't see.
Oh, shit. Okay. Robin, give me a second here to redo my laptop, please.
All right. So for those of you that are new here, say hello so we can drop an hola back at you. We got Gala Music Player, Tyler in here. And that's all I spotted out from the new people. But if you're new, say hello so that way I can drop this. Hola! Welcome to Sin City Crypto.
Are you
Now-
surprised at the retracement of Bitcoin?
On it, pulling back down to 27,000 flat.
Yeah.
It's really not that big of a retracement, though, right? Think about it.
Here we go. All right. We'll hold that talk for later time. Well, guys, be the judge for yourself. And so, that is something, you know, when I first saw this car, I was like, look, looks like a Fiat or like an Italian-made car, right? And I was like, there's got to be something like Rocco in there. And then I realized as the people fell through the house-made Fiat, it was a truck.
It's surprising they got down the hill and made that turn, though. You know, I mean, like you said, they had to have made that turn there. So you know, it's got some wheels on it. You know.
Yeah, it does.
What is the part that has to do with me?
That part right there.
Oh, okay.
Just cultural appropriation, some call
Okay,
it.
I got it.
Speaking of appropriation, someone has appropriated funds to our channel, and that is Crypto Halligan, who just joined our level 1 membership. Thank you for your support. Also, speaking of memberships, Jimmy, the sugar daddy of this channel, has gifted 10 memberships to you peasants. Peasants accept Crypto Halligan because he didn't have to wait for Jimmy to give him a free one. He just went out and did it on his own. All jokes aside, guys, thank you so much for your for helping out this channel, for your support. We appreciate you guys. I do have a couple more videos. Well, Robin, we do have, I don't know what the hell happened here. We do have a video, and I just, the tongue is a very, very powerful. The tongue is a very, very powerful tool, right? And there's a lot of things the tongue can do.
Where are you going with this, man?
I think, I don't know.
This is a long...
Just say it.
Yeah.
Well, Robin, here's what the potential of the tongue is. Here's a dog using the tongue to open up the... he's out of his key. This is skill, right? I mean, dude knows what he's doing. He knows he's got to go left and then up. I'm just saying, bro.
Simple concept.
Yeah. How about we just check out this video? Boom, play. There you go.
No. That's
So
not
the
how we roll.
tongue. The tongue.
Well, we know gender reveals, and we know gender reveals gone bad, and here's one that definitely went bad. And safe to say, this might be his last kid.
He hit himself in the baby maker.
In the baby maker. And then for those of you wondering, what does this sign mean? Well, if you ever crash your car, just press this button. It'll undo the accident. And check this out, man. Nevada casinos took away $1.4 billion in July gambling. $1.4 billion in a month. People put into the slot machines and on the tables, and they lost it. And Vegas Strip casinos, those are other casinos like Caesar's Palace and Bellagio, they got $835 million out of that $1.4 billion. And the revenue statewide is up 7% compared to July of last year. And so there's plenty of ways to throw money away. One is at Vegas casinos. The other one is at meme coins. And then this picture is making its way around social media. So this kid had that snake flag that said "Don't tread on me," and so he got school try to. But I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at look at this. This kid is a Doge fan. Look at that. It's a little Doge coin thing.
Yeah. I saw that dude on the news.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a big talking point. It's a big political talking point. But we don't talk politics too much here, only when we're making fun of them. But this Dogecoin thing was pretty interesting. Now, moving on to more serious news, we do have this from A.B. Bernstein. This is a $646 billion asset manager stating that the GBTC ruling, the Grayscale ruling, likely clears the path for a spot ETF. We do have some more news on that, as I mentioned at the top of the show. I do want to move on to this, guys. This was across traditional media. Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, CNBC, The Verge, Reuters, Fortune Crypto, CNN, ABC, all the big mainstream media outlets. This was front and center. U.S. court paves way for spot ETF. Grayscale wins lawsuit. And you can see here, guys, all I'm saying is we made it. We made it, guys. We made it. And then, by the way, if you're not following us on Twitter, do yourselves a favor. Follow us on Twitter. So this is from our Twitter handle. We are running a contest, a $100 Bitcoin giveaway. Here's a scenario. A spot ETF gets approved on that same day, that daily candle on that day that closes. What will the price be? Okay. And the person who gets closest will win $100. And all you got to do is follow us on Twitter and just repost it to nothing else. Someone asked how long are we going to keep this open? I'm thinking we keep it open right up until those deadlines hit, those deadlines come. I don't think anything's going on Friday. I don't think we're going to get an approval. So we're going to run it through this Friday. As we get closer to the 17th of October, we'll go ahead and, because that is the next date, the second term. And that'll be the couple days prior. We'll decide, hey, we're going to stop it or not. But guys, there's going to be a lot of people putting their bids in. So like Redman, don't just do 30K, 31K, 41K. I would do, I would even maybe go down to the decimal point because I'm assuming a lot of people are going to cast their vote. And the last thing you want is a tie. And then if we have a tie, you got to split the $100 depending on how many ways, and that's just no fun. Robin.
Yes.
You're disqualified from participating here. But if you were not disqualified, what would your bid be?
I'm disqualified?
Yes. Spot ETF gets approved.
That's rude.
That day's candle, what does it close at? Oh, by the way, I'm giving away $100 in Bitcoin from the company account.
I'm going to say 34.2.
34,200.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, cool.
What's your kind of guesstimate?
I was thinking like 36.5. Yeah. And my theory is leading up to an approval, there's going to be people in traditional finance that are going to get the news first. They're going to start buying, knowing that the price is going to go up. So we're going to see, let's say we're trading at 28K or 30K. We're going to see that number start to inch up to 31, 32, 33. Bam, the news hits. Everyone else comes in. 36.5. That is my bare minimum. I definitely think it can go higher. I definitely think 40K is in the cards. 50K, I'd say maybe 25, 30% that we get to 50K on the day. I also think it depends on, is it going to be in the morning? Is it going to be when the market's closed? That's part of the game, though. That's part of the game you got to play. We also have this. Warren Davidson calls to fire Gary Gensler following the Grayscale's victory against the SEC. We also had Tom Emmer. So Warren Davidson and Tom Emmer are notorious pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin advocates. Said, our system of checks and balances holding the abusive administrative state accountable. And then we had this just drop today. Gary Gensler is going to be busy in September because he's going to be testifying in front of Congress twice.
Oh, there's going to be so much good content off of that.
We might just not stream the channel so we can just watch this. I'm just kidding. We're obviously going to stream the channel, but I will definitely be watching this in its entirety. So he will first testify September 12th before the Senate Banking Committee. That is where Elizabeth Warren sits, okay? And then later on the 27th of September, he'll be testifying in front of Patrick McHenry and his House Financial Services Committee in the House. You think he's going to have more clear answers? You think they're going to push him more? You think he's going to lose some supportive people that he had previously that are just like saying, hey, we just can't continue supporting this guy. He's just making us look
Who's
bad.
supporting him other than Elizabeth Warren?
Well, you have Brad Sherman. You have Maxine Waters. There's a bunch of people that are on his side.
Well, his stance hasn't changed. So who else are you going to put in his position that's going to be able to combat crypto in the same way that he does? So the people that are supportive of Gary Gensler and the movement against crypto, he's just not effectively delivering. But I mean, the dude is anti-crypto, right? Through and through.
Yeah, that's safe to say, yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
What would make you say that, Robin? Just curious.
Well,
Yeah. Anyways, it should be very interesting. Like I said, I'm just curious on at what point do his supporters just say, look, this is a bad look on us. Now it's affecting people, how people perceive me. And so, is he going to lose people? Is he going to lose staunch allies in Congress, in the Senate and the House? That remains to be seen, but it'll be interesting to say the least. And my question is, now that at least the courts have given some sort of guidance, some sort of clarity, will Gary Gensler stick to the tried and true that what Gary Gensler's been doing? Are we actually going to get some answers from Gary Gensler? What do you think, Robin?
No answers.
It's going to be the same.
It's going to be the same
par,
thing. It's going to say
thing?
1930s law, securities law, clearly covers crypto. Come in and get regulated. Everything's a fraud that's in crypto. I don't want to talk about Bitcoin, and I'll answer as little questions about Ethereum as I can. That's exactly what will happen. Do you think something else will be different?
No, I agree with you. No, I was hoping you'd have a different answer, but
No, that's it, man. That's what we're gonna get. Here's the thing: politicians, you already know what you're gonna get. Joe Biden's gonna fall asleep. Gary Gensler is gonna repeat 1930s law. Then you got Jerome Powell is gonna keep saying, "Stay the course." Inflation,
2% inflation,
2%. Yeah, exactly. Politicians, man, they're robots, bro. Tell me they're not robots. They are robots. They just say the same thing over and over again. Shame on you.
And that is why people are drawn to people like Donald Trump and the other guy, Vivek, the newcomers, just not politicians. They don't give a crap. They just say what's on their mind. All right. Let's move on to another big case that the government, well, not the government, that crypto has won, okay? So if you guys remember, Uniswap was being sued, okay? Uniswap was being sued. So judge overseeing SEC versus Coinbase just dismissed a class action lawsuit against Uniswap. Says, notice the language, due to the protocol's decentralized nature, there was no identifiable defendant. The fact that the current state of crypto regulation leaves them without recourse. So this was, and I'll kind of read this here, plaintiffs claim that they lost money after investing in what turned out to be various scam tokens that were issued and traded on Uniswap. Due to the protocol's decentralized nature, the identities of the scam token issuers are basically unknown and unknowable, leaving plaintiffs with an identifiable injury but no identifiable defendant. Undaunted, they now sue the Uniswap defendants and VC defendants, hoping that this court might overlook the fact that the current state of crypto regulation leaves them without recourse, at least as to the specific claims alleged in the suit. And again, this is the same judge who is overseeing SEC versus Coinbase. And then we have this from Eleanor Tourette. Southern District of New York Judge Catherine Polk Faila, the judge who's also in charge of Coinbase, has thrown out the class action lawsuit. And in here, she reposted something that was in the filing. In this regard, the court sees merit in defendant's counterpoint that this case is more like an effort to hold a developer of self-driving cars liable for a third party's use of a car to commit traffic violations or to rob a bank. That's very interesting. So the defendant being Uniswap, they're saying, hey, holding us accountable, a decentralized exchange, is like holding a self-driving car accountable for getting into a car accident or not getting into a car accident, but committing a traffic violation or going in to rob a bank. So we are seeing judges start to put some foundation down. You think it's going to have any effect across the Coinbase lawsuit, across what Binance is going through?
Because it's in reference to decentralization, right? Or it's in reference to a protocol not having KYC and people using it in a certain way. I would say that this would maybe spill over if there was a, well, what's it called when you fight the court case? Damn it.
What?
An appeal, yes, sorry. I don't know why I was drawing a blank on there. But if there was some sort of appeal for the Tornado Cash, this I feel like more fits that situation, right? And Tornado Cash blacklisted, founder went to jail. Now, this wasn't in the U.S. court system, but you could draw reference from this Uniswap court case and be like, look, Uniswap is just a protocol. It's running. People used it in a nefarious way. And, hey, people lost money. And so, I don't know, man. I think it's interesting, though, right?
You think the SEC is going to appeal Grayscale?
Is it appealable?
So
I guess
they can appeal. Okay, so there's 17 judges. Only 3 of them heard the court case. They can appeal to have the rest of the 15 or the rest of the 14 judges hear the case. And to my understanding, I'm not a law professional here. I'm not a lawyer. To my understanding, that is their only form of appeal they can do. Or do you think they're just, hey, back to the drawing board, let's figure out another way to dismiss it or deny it? Or let's just hey, guys, fine, we lost.
I still think that the simplest course of action here would just to be approve the spot Bitcoin ETF. And I know that goes against the mantra of the SEC right now, but it doesn't seem like it's a battle they're going to be able to win.
But what would be the bigger L? Admitting defeat and approving something, or
they've already been defeated. So it's not admitting defeat. Yeah, you go through the appeal.
Okay, but Robin, them admitting defeat would be them approving a spot ETF, in my opinion. Because
that's what the court is saying. The court is saying you approved a futures ETF. You need to approve a regular one.
Someone brought up a point that they can go back and pull all the Bitcoin futures ETFs.
They could. because the whole premise of the court case is, hey, you passed a futures ETF, so why not pass
That
a
would
spot
be-
Bitcoin ETF? And so a move they could have would be to like snub the everyone and say, hey, we're going to remove the futures because we can't pass this spot. And so the court says, if you pass a futures, you have to have a spot. So, hey, we're now feel comfortable passing a spot, so we're just going to remove the futures. But with the Grayscale coming down the pipeline, I think that they're planning on passing it anyways. So why even fight it? I always go back to the situation. I just think it just makes sense for them to just pass it, because the SEC knows that it's a commodity. They know that it's gonna be an ETF eventually. And at what point are you gonna keep throwing more and more resources to deny these ETFs? And there's just the growing reality that at the end of the applications, if they deny, they're probably going to get sued one by one. And there's 13 more Bitcoin ETFs in the pipeline. And so if there's 13 or 14 more ETFs in the pipeline, you deny them all, you realize that you might have 14 more court cases. And the judges are just dismissing these, or the judges are ruling in the favor of the institutions at this point, not the SEC. So what are the chances that you're going to win majority of the court cases if you get sued by 13 institutions that got denied? It's just the direction now. It's overwhelming. There's overwhelming momentum going for them to pass a spot Bitcoin ETF. And as it's a short time window, because they're going to have to start delaying these on Friday. They got to address the elephant in the room and like, hey, court says you got a futures ETF. Grayscale is trying to apply for a spot. You need to prove it. They're running out of time, bro. You can only delay. The whole SEC game was to delay this thing long enough to mature the markets, right? I guess that would be kind of a one way of looking at it if you were to defend the SEC. Like, hey, the markets aren't mature enough, too much volatility. Bitcoin's too wishy-washy. You could say that, and maybe the New York Stock Exchange isn't ready, right? Manipulation, whatever. But you can't delay it no more. At this point, the checks and balances, they're holding the SEC accountable, and they're going to have to either go and spend millions and millions of dollars in resources fighting these court cases that they're going to lose one by one, or they're just going to put their hands up and be like, okay, here, take the damn Bitcoin ETF. Take it. Here, it's approved. It's coming soon, man. Sooner than you think.
Robin, we know about pride. We know about admitting you're wrong. And for someone like Gary Gensler, he's made his life's mission over the last 3 years to just completely deny, eradicate, shit on our industry, you really think he's going to come in?
Exactly what you just said. It's pride. Do you think he wants to go through 13 more losses in lawsuits? There's court cases the SEC can win, and these aren't them. And so if he wants to be the shining knight that destroys crypto, then he can't. There's a losing battle against Bitcoin. It's the same thing that these nation states are doing. Hey, we're going to ban Bitcoin. Oh, crap. That didn't work. Oh, we're going to stop this Bitcoin ETF. Oh, crap. That doesn't work. At some point, you just got to raise the white flag and be like, all right, take it. You can have it. We're going to go after the altcoins. At some point, if he has pride, think about it. If he has pride, he's not stupid. Gary Gensler isn't mentally deficient. He is an intelligent person. Now, maybe he is jaded. Maybe I think he has a lot of money.
He's intelligent.
There's a lot of money that sways his decisions. I think that he is compensated in multiple ways for having the stance that he has. But he's an intelligent person, and he does realize that he cannot stop the Bitcoin ETF. It's coming. And judges and institutions are going to increase the pressure on him. And if he has pride and he wants to keep doing what he's doing against all the other altcoins, he's gotta lay down his sword on this one. He's gonna be like, all right, man, you know what? We already got a futures Bitcoin ETF. You know what? Take it. I'm fine.
Rob, you talked about raising the white flag, and we have multiple people. Mark Yusko was on our show, which, by the way, he'll be back on our show next month. I'm excited to have him back. That was such a great conversation. But, he said, the stages, right? First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. If you're saying we're at the point where they're almost ready to raise their white flag.
On this particular subject, remember, there's tens of thousands of cryptos. There's all kinds of custodial agents and exchanges and dexes and NFTs now. They're going in there. There's plenty of work for them to do. It's not like they're packing up and going back to Wall Street and just saying F crypto. Nah, not at all. Just leave Bitcoin alone. It's decentralized. It's a commodity. Stop it.
Just leave Bitcoin alone.
That's it, bro. Thank you.
Just because you don't know the song, Rocco, doesn't mean it's one.
He knows the song.
Loser. Rocco's a loser. Rocco, you're fired. Now, let's get into the crypto markets, but first, I want to give a shout out.
I'm glad you know the temperature in the room here.
It's very cold, actually. Want to give a shout out to channel sponsor I Trust Capital. If you want to hodl your crypto and enjoy those gains tax-free in retirement, you're going to want to set up a Roth IRA account. And there's one company, in our opinion, that you should trust, and that is I Trust Capital. If you use the link in our description of our video, you'll not only support the channel, but you'll support yourself, as you'll get a free $100 once you fund your account. So big shout out to them, and big shout out to Robin, who's going to show you what the prices of crypto are doing right now. Robin?
Well, we got Bitcoin coming in at...
Like how I gave you a shout out?
You should have said Big Rob, so I don't appreciate it. Thank you. Now you got $27,159.81. Now
81 cents.
That's right.
Okay, Rob, just real quick. Okay. Just think about psychology of price action and traders, right? We saw a big rally from, let's just call it $26,000 to $28,000. It's been less than 24 hours and we've lost half of those gains. Okay? What does that tell you about?
I think it's quite half. I'm looking at this chart here.
So if we went up 2,000 and we lost 1,000, we lost half, right? Went from 26 to 28, back down to 27. That's a midway point.
And we went.
So we gained 2,000, lost 1,000. I'm using round numbers here, okay?
27.1.
It's about half,
yes,
bro.
sir.
Jesus
Okay,
Christ.
got it. Yeah, here you.
It's about half.
All right.
Okay. What does that tell you about A, where the markets are, B, the sentiment of the market?
It tells me that's how markets move.
Okay.
You go really hard one direction, you pull back a little bit. Is that any different?
Yeah, you don't retrace 50%
You don't go
of your
from
move.
You don't go from that's how markets move. You always say it's overbought, it's oversold.
Correct.
On a shorter time scale, you go from 25 to 28. You know it's going to pull back.
Yeah, but it doesn't pull back to 26,500.
It's at 27.1.
I'm saying if you go from 25 to 28, it's not normal to retrace 50%.
It is normal. Charts, when they move massive percent, they always retrace at some point. They might go back and
Correct.
retest.
They do retrace. I'm just saying
This
to
is not.
lose half.
This is a natural movement. It went from 26 to 28. Now it's at 27.1. What's the big deal?
This is a natural.
Why are you?
movement.
You're. So what narrative are you trying to paint here? Like
I'm
Bitcoin's
just
dead?
asking. I'm asking. What does that tell you about the psychology of the market and the sentiment of the traders?
I'm telling you, the psychology of this market is exactly like any other big move. When you move up a substantial percent, when you go up 10% in a 24-hour period, you're usually going to have a pullback shortly thereafter. I don't. If we would have went back down to 26,000 or 25,000, then sure, I'd be like, yeah, that's kind of strange. We just gave up all our gains. Like, yeah, but
We gave up half our gains.
that's normal.
To retrace 20% is normal, not 50.
What markets have you been looking at?
What
lately?
markets have you been looking at? Do you even look at markets?
So you're saying that this is a phenomenon here.
It's
that
not about
Bitcoin
being a
went from
phenomenon.
25,000.
It's not
to
about being a
28.
phenomenon. I'm simply
And
trying
this
to
is-
ask you, what do you think this says
And
about
I'm
the sentiment of the
telling
market?
you, there's nothing
To
there.
me, the way I would answer that question
Go ahead.
is it looks like people are not confident in the market yet. Because when you have a massive piece of news like Grayscale winning, essentially saying an ETF is coming, and instead of continuing to go up, Bitcoin starts to come down and loses 50% of the move it made. It loses 50% of the move it made. That's not normal. I'm not saying it's a phenomenon. Oh my God.
This is
But it's
normal.
also not ebbs and flows of the market.
It is ebbs and flows in the market. It's natural. The market went from 25 to 28. Now it's at 27.1.
It went from 26 to 28.
25,000. 25,900. It went from 25
To 26,000.
to 27,100.
25,900. My bad. Sorry, I was off by 100. You were off by 900.
What are you questioning here? I don't understand. I'm so confused.
Because you don't listen. All you do
I'm
is
listening.
You don't listen. You're like on those podcasts where the people don't listen.
So you're saying that people don't have confidence in Bitcoin because it went from 25.9 to 28,000 and then it retraced back down to 27.1.
It lost
You think
50% of its
Okay,
move
sure.
on big news.
Okay, it lost 50%. It lost 50%. It moved up X amount of percent, and then it retraced 50% back. And now you're saying people don't have confidence in Bitcoin. That's what you're saying?
I'm asking you the question.
And my answer to your stupid question, or no, I don't want to say stupid, my apologies. My answer to your question is that this is how the markets move. You move in a big direction one way, it pulls back. You can look at any fucking chart. Altcoins,
agree.
Bitcoins,
I'm just
Midcoins. You can look at NASDAQ. You can look at stocks. You move. You have a big ass move, and over 10%, you make a big move in one day. It pulls back. I don't know why all of a sudden we're like you're over here with the fire background and you're like freaking out, and it's just like
I didn't do the fire background. That was Rocco. My point is this, okay? I'm thinking in terms of psychology of the market. You're thinking in terms of charts and TA, which is weird because usually it's the opposite. For me, I look at, okay, big news, euphoria kicked in, people started buying. And then all of a sudden, we lost 50% of that move. Nothing has changed. In fact, things have gotten better. The narrative has gotten stronger.
the same thing happened with XRP.
But that was after but everything started
It was
tanking,
euphoria.
right?
Everyone was
Everything
excited.
started
The
tanking.
price bumped up and then it pulled back.
But everything started
No, that
started
was
coming
like 2
down.
days later. That was like
But
2 or 3 days
but
later.
But also, you started
And
hearing all the lawyers and pundits
also
come out.
The entire market's moved up on just that news. Bitcoin price moved up too. So it's like the entire market moved up off of that court case. So the entire market pulled back. And the same way that Bitcoin moved up, Bitcoin moved back. If all the markets move up, all of a sudden, it pulls back.
I don't know. What do you guys think? If you're with me on this one, put 1. If you're with Robin on this one, put a 2. I do want to share a Bitcoin chart real quick, Rocco. If you want to pull up my laptop. So I'm not sure if my buttons here are working. But this is the Bitcoin on the 4 hours. So we were in an inverse BART. We didn't really break.
You say it, inverse BART?
Inverse BART, yeah, that's what it's called. You know the Bart Simpson?
I know.
Yeah.
I never heard inverse BART.
Yes. Well, there's an inverse to everyone, right?
Okay.
Then you have, so typically we would have wanted to see this price move up to 29K. We didn't, but what I am seeing on the 4 hour is a nice little bull flag. And so we have a big move to the upside, followed by a downtrending channel. And then we should see a break to the upside. The next level I'd be watching for, guys, is that 28K. Can we reclaim it? We did wick all the way up to 28.1 and then came right back down. So that is something I'm kind of keeping an eye on. And then, Rob, if you want to look at the rest of the markets.
Okay. So taking a look at some of the broader markets in the crypto space, XDC up 7%, Titan Coin up 5%, Stack still up another 4% of 24 hours, almost a full 10% on the week. And then that kind of rounds out the big winners. We do got a little bit more red in the markets today, though. Internet Computer down 6, Hedera down 5, Conflux 5, ETH Classic down 5.
Oh, no.
This one did rally yesterday for some weird reason. And then you also have GMX, A-Star. So decent amount of red across the board here. But, yeah.
Okay. Fear and Greed Index, 42. It was just at, what, 30?
35 yesterday prior to the news. So a little bit more euphoria on the Fear and Greed Index, but this should probably reset back down to like 30-something.
It's a pretty lagging indicator, to be honest with you. Okay. So let's, I found this article that was kind of interesting. So this is from the Daily Hodl Stock market has to collapse before Bitcoin comes back to life, according to this Bloomberg strategist, and then he details why. Bloomberg Intelligence senior macro strategist Mike McGlone believes that risk assets like stocks need to crash before Bitcoin jumps back to life. Excuse me. He says Bitcoin is unlikely to take flight as long as the U.S. Federal Reserve keeps the money printer off. This is a direct quote. Here's what I think the indication of the bad performance is. If you look at the overlay of Bitcoin versus the NASDAQ, it typically outperforms when the liquidity pump is on, and it typically underperforms when the liquidity pump is off. Talking about quantitative easing versus quantitative tightening. Relevant history is more relevant because it's such a young asset, and the point is that the liquidity pump is clearly off, and it's way off. I just looked at the Fed fund futures. In 1 year, they're right around 5%. That shows no hope of getting this liquidity pump to go back on. He also told his 60,000 followers on social media that the Federal Reserve may reverse its hawkish stance if the stock market melts down. So, Rob, do you agree with Mr. McGlone that there is no chance for Bitcoin to essentially pump up in price or have any big move until, and he draws a conclusion from stock market has to crash, that's what's going to cause the Fed to start printing money, then Bitcoin goes up. Do you agree with that, or do you think a narrative is starting to change?
Yeah, I mean, it still trades as a risk-on asset, and most of the risk-on assets have fallen flat lately, and we're in the middle of a bear market. So, there is a disconnect on the correlation from the NASDAQ and Bitcoin as of more or less lately, at least in this last 6 months. But it still is fueled by speculation and people with extra money that have taken gains from one asset class, a more secure portfolio, and they're looking to diversify and take on more risk. And that's usually where Bitcoin's money has come from, at least in the more recent pumps in the last bull market, and even in 2017, 2018. I don't think that theory has changed, and I do think that you need to have a environment where the government is printing, money is free flowing into risk-on markets, and I think Bitcoin falls into that category. And that's why we always discuss the Fed minutes. We discuss the Fed meetings. We discuss a lot of what's going on with the dollar because of its direct correlation to how much money people are spending outside of their day-to-day tasks. And people are just, when they have more money, they start throwing it into different investments, right? I mean, you remember how it was when they were printing those checks? Everybody had a Robinhood account. Everybody had a Robinhood account all of a sudden. Even I'm not even talking about like crypto, but I'm just saying that like all of a sudden people were just throwing money into whatever they thought could make them money, you know?
What do you, okay, I want to highlight a comment here from the chat. Rudy Lane said, don't overhype the Grayscale news until there is an actual ETF. It's just noise. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think we're a little too bullish on this news?
Let's break down what happened. Grayscale applied for a spot Bitcoin ETF, and then they got denied. They sued the SEC, which I remember Kevin O'Leary was like, I can't believe they would go out and sue. That's so stupid. They should just fall in line or whatever.
Yep.
They won. That's interesting. But now their court case, the determination for why they got denied was basically thrown out, right? They were saying like, hey, no.
It was capricious.
Yeah, they're saying, hey, that's not a valid reason for denying it. You have approved a futures ETF. And the magnitude of this is that basically like, hey, you denied them and you can't say that. You can't deny them for that reason. And also, hey, by the way, you got a futures ETF, so if you got that product, why don't you have the other one? And so it puts the SEC in a corner, and they have very little to stand on for denying other applications or even denying the Grayscale one, right? And so when you get a spot Bitcoin ETF, all of Wall Street, all of America, corporate America can get exposure to Bitcoin. That's why it has such a big it's such a big factor for Bitcoin, especially the price, right? Because now all of a sudden, any company doesn't have to worry about seed phrase. Every company doesn't have to worry about who's custodying. They don't have to worry about losing, sending it to the wrong hardware wallet. They don't have to worry about what company they're gonna, has solvency issues.
Or the company going under, yeah.
Yeah, they just buy it from BlackRock ETF. Boom, that's it. Game over.
Hey guys, let me tell you something. If there ever comes a scenario where BlackRock goes under,
or
that's your worry.
Or if my dad comes up to me and he's all like, "Hey man, I want to buy some Bitcoin." I don't have to explain the seed phrase thing. I don't need to explain anything. I can just be like, "Dad, I know you're not gonna open up your laptop and do any kind of real work here. So why don't you just go
What
to
would
the
your
stock
dad
market?"
say if he heard you say that? What do you mean?
He would be like, "Yeah, you're right."
I do remember the laptop you brought in your dad had. It was really old and slow. The Lenovo one?
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Can't
it's,
store
like,
seed phrases
it's
on that.
just it's a very convenient, easy way for inexperienced people in crypto to get exposure to Bitcoin, and it also provides a safe and regulated way of buying exposure to Bitcoin. You don't have any downside risk of losing the keys, and the SEC ain't going to sue you for doing it. So it's pretty. Like, I would expect.
Pretty big news.
Yeah, I would expect.
I think
It
also
would
think it's
give
big
the
news.
liquidity. I don't think that a spot Bitcoin ETF, I don't think that would boost up Bitcoin to say $100,000. However, it will at some point give it the liquidity needed. It'll have everything ready, so that way when the price does get to 100,000, they can facilitate that. And I think it's a necessary step. So
this is interesting. Okay, it kind of falls in line with what you're talking about. And so this is from Blockworks. Bitcoin allocations trend positive for 60/40 portfolios. This is a research done by Bitwise. Adding a portion of Bitcoin to a traditional portfolio, which allocates 60% to stocks and 40% to bonds, would have helped investors over a range of rolling return periods. The Tuesday study, authored by Bitwise Chief Investment Officer Matt Hugan and research analyst, that person, found that a 2.5% allocation of Bitcoin, for example, would have boosted the 3-year risk-adjusted return of a 60/40 portfolio by 12 percentage points. I know that doesn't sound like a big number, but in the world of traditional finance, that's a big return. That is a big return. The analysis started with a 60% allocation to the Vanguard World Stock ETF and 40% to the Vanguard Bond ETF. Bitwise then tested Bitcoin allocations ranging from 0 to 10%, assuming quarterly rebalancing. The 60/40 portfolio without Bitcoin returned 64% over the 9-year span, which is annualized at 5.4%. Adding just 2.5% of a Bitcoin allocation to that same portfolio moved the cumulative return up from 64 to 101.6%, almost double. Just 2.5%. If Bitcoin holdings represented 5%, the returns rose from 101 to 144.7. Why am I showing you this? Because once the spot ETF gets approved, this is now an option. When you go sit down with your financial advisor, this is an option you can talk about. This is an option you can actually do in your portfolio. And so we're going to continue to see these. Like, numbers do not lie. Numbers are there. They're fact. They're not disputable. Okay? So when I sit down as a financial advisor and I tell him, look, if we move 2.5% from this the stock ETF and we go 58 or 57.5 and then we do 2.5 in Bitcoin, their risk on assets, same class.
Here's something else. So you're looking at it from the perspective of I walk into my financial advisor's office, right? And I say, hey, I want to get exposure to Bitcoin. There's an ETF, you can do it. But let's not forget what's going on here is the fact that financial advisors, they essentially make money by how successful they are, right?
Correct.
They're not going to keep their job if
You
their
make
portfolios
money,
are down.
they
right?
make money.
Yeah. Yeah. They make money when you
That's
make
a
money.
Continue. You're bringing up a very good point.
So your best performing financial advisors at your company branch, right? Let's just say the top dogs, like, because you always got one person that just kills it, right? And there's gonna be a lot of people that have exposure to Bitcoin that are financial advisors that are killing it, right? They're making a lot of money, and their numbers show it, and they're getting all the big clients, and a lot of their strategy, I'm sure, is gonna lay front and center on Bitcoin, especially when there's a Bitcoin ETF, because over a long enough time horizon, they're gonna always win, right? I mean, don't you agree that at some point Bitcoin will get to $100,000?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, at some point it'll get to $500,000.
Absolutely.
At some point it'll get to $1 million.
Absolutely.
And so, with a long enough time horizon, financial advisors are going to be outperforming their competition within their own office by.
It's going to be an arms race for financial advisors.
Yeah, well, the best financial advisors are going to stand out because they're going to have exposure to Bitcoin.
And then everyone's going to fall in line, right?
And then, what's going to happen is the boss of the hedge fund or whatever it is, or whatever office is, the boss is going to come up and be like, hey, man, do what this guy's doing. He's killing it. And what's he doing? Investing in Bitcoin. How you doing?
And Robin brought up a really good point, because in that world of financial advising and portfolio management, you get a percent of the portfolio, right? So let's call it 1%. So if your portfolio made $100,000 this year, you're making $1,000 as a financial advisor. Multiply that by millions, and now you have an asset now you can throw in there, even if it's just 2.5%, and your money can go from 60% of $100,000 to 104% of $100,000, guys. There's so many angles to this. Not only that, but all the, like, our age demographic, 25 to 35, they're probably going to custody their own crypto. They already probably exposed to Bitcoin. It's those baby boomers, right? The largest generation that holds the largest amount of wealth, right? The number is close to $50 trillion. Those are the ones that still have financial advisors. Those are the ones that still go to their office of the financial advisor once a year to look at their portfolio and figure out how to move money around. And those are the people that are going to benefit the most from a spot ETF, because when they go sit down with a financial advisor, guess what, Larry? We got this new thing, man. We can boost up your portfolio by 2-3x. We got this halving thing coming. The supply is going to drop down. It's gaining momentum. It's global. It's not politically averse to risk. There you have it, man. I just cannot for the life of me understand the people that are not bullish on a spot ETF. I just don't get it.
Big shout out. Zoltan gave a $2 super chat. Said, guys, TradingView has a ruler tool. Very nice.
Very good point.
Also, Jason Smith, Crypto Trekker, 151 Crypto, El Proof Manuel Rosa, Dahlia, Mr. West HZ, Rudy Lane, Brian Overholzer, and Justin Kerwood. Hola! Welcome.
Welcome. Now, I do have a video from Grayscale CEO Michael Sonnenschein. He was on CNBC, and let's listen to what he had to say. Rocco.
First on Squawk Box is Grayscale CEO Michael Sonnenschein. And Michael, welcome. Congratulations. This is a pretty big win for you.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
What does this mean for Grayscale now? What's the next step?
Well, this is, more than a year-long process. Last June, the SEC denied our application to convert GBTC to an ETF. We immediately filed a lawsuit. Went through briefs, went through oral arguments, and to yesterday receive an opinion from the court that unanimously had 3 judges all rule in our favor, vacating the SEC's denial order is a huge victory for us, for our investors, for really the crypto community and the investing community as a whole.
Yeah, they called this arbitrary and capricious, the SEC's decision to deny this, just based on the idea that the futures market and the spot price were pretty closely linked, and it should be allowed to go ahead with that. The SEC says it is still looking into it. It does have the opportunity to appeal this, either to a full slate of judges on the D.C. court or to the U.S. Supreme Court. What happens? What could that mean? Because it could be an expensive fight to continue.
Sure. So today marks day 1 of a 45-day process where the SEC can request a rehearing. We really have to be patient now and follow the federal rules of appellate procedure here during that time period. And ultimately, the court will issue a final mandate that will detail the operational next steps.
Which means what from any investors in Grayscale or beyond? What are you looking at? What should they?
Yeah, I mean, in the interim, during this 45-day period, our lawyers are working, constructively, proactively with the SEC to pursue next steps as expeditiously as possible. We have to ensure that no one, especially the SEC, is not losing sight of the fact that there are nearly 1 million American investors who own GBTC today. So the patience that they've had inflicting any further harm on them, holding them back from bringing GBTC further into the regulatory perimeter would be a really missed opportunity and really directly violate the SEC's mandate.
Everything goes your way, how quickly could you get the ETF up and running?
Well, it really, again, depends on working proactively with the SEC. Throughout this process, we have had what we would think of as a professional disagreement with the SEC. The very foundation of the Grayscale business is making, crypto accessible through existing rules and regulations here in the U.S. And so we want to maintain that posture with the SEC, not only through this decision, but on a go-forward basis. GBTC is just the first of many products that Grayscale has that all intend to eventually convert into ETFs and have a whole family of digital asset ETFs here in the U.S.
What's the relationship like? You can describe it as a professional disagreement, but everybody's spent a lot of time on both sides of this, and that can lead to some contentious relationships.
Well,
what would the SEC like to see? What can you show them, perhaps, to maybe sway them in your favor?
Well, I think we really have to point back to the court order yesterday. The court order, simply put, said, we agree with you. We agree with you, Grayscale, right? We have demonstrated, multiple times that there's an inextricable tie between the Bitcoin futures and the Bitcoin spot market, and the fact that the SEC has greenlighted multiple Bitcoin futures products but not spot products really does underscore that arbitrary and capricious decision-making that they had denying GBTC's conversion.
Probably worth taking a moment to describe why it's important to convert to an ETF structure. So you have this trust, it can trade away from the Bitcoin, the value of the Bitcoin in your portfolio that you hold. So an ETF, in theory, would track it perfectly. We have a gold trust, has been around for almost 20 years. What's the advantage, though, really above and beyond being able to own Bitcoin directly? Because when it came to gold, I remember when they launched the Spider Gold Trust, you otherwise had to own it physically, you had to pay to store it, insure it, and everything else. You have a digital asset. Why is it important to have an ETF? And then probably, if you get yours, many others out there creating fee compression, probably.
Sure. There's no question that the ETF wrapper is something that's tried and true here in the U.S., right? It's used for access to gold, to stocks, to all different types of investments. And so when we think about the novelty of digital assets and the fact that investors want access to them, the ability to gain access to it in a wrapper that they know, to have it sit alongside all of their other investments, be made available for tax-advantaged accounts, these are the types of things that investors want, not to mention the added protections, the disclosures, the reporting that come with being an ETF.
What are your thoughts on that, Rob?
Very, you know what really stood out was the fact that, here's the thing, the Bitcoin ETF, I'm telling you it's coming, it's just a matter of time, and I think it's a lot sooner than we think, but Grayscale has all those other products they offer, and so what if
you're talking about like the Ethereum trust?
Yeah,
and the
Ethereum.
Trust?
And so, he brought up the fact that they have a host of other trusts as well. And I think if you can simply justify it being decentralized and a commodity, I think if you can just make that distinction, be like, hey, look, nobody's in control of this. It's decentralized. Let's just take Ethereum, for example. Why not? Why doesn't that fit in the same box, right? I mean, I guess it could be up for debate, but I think that what we have here is just an overwhelming momentum for it to pass. And I don't want to just keep echoing what I've been saying before, but I'm telling you, I think it's good. This is going to happen sooner than later. And I know that initially, before the Grayscale case, at least my narrative was like, hey, man, I think that 2024 is a good time window when all of these, when the majority of the ETFs are due for their final deadline determination on approval or denial. I thought that's more likely when we would see a resolution, but I think the Grayscale thing is kind of really just put the pressure on the SEC to say, hey, you can't just keep denying these or delaying them
over some BS.
Yes, exactly.
Now, we did see a bunch of Ethereum futures ETFs get filed. And this was because the SEC showed, like, hey, we're ready. We're ready to approve one. You think the Grayscale decision is going to sway Gary Gensler and the SEC to now do a 180, say, no, we're not going to approve a futures Ethereum ETF, knowing that if they do approve a futures ETF, you can argue that Grayscale is going to try to go and do an Ethereum spot ETF, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
Right?
That is interesting. Because the reason they're put into a corner now is because there's a futures Bitcoin ETF.
Correct.
And the applications for the Ethereum futures ETFs are in.
They're in. And people piled in because
And
the
if
SEC...
you approve the futures ETF, there's no stopping the spot ETF on ETH.
Things are going to get interesting.
At this point, I don't want to say it was minute, but I think people just kind of undersold what the futures Bitcoin ETF was doing, right? It was basically ushering in Bitcoin to be traded on the stock exchange. And you can't say, hey, you can trade it in this way, but not that way. And I think that once you opened up that can of worms, it cascades over to Bitcoin and then opens up the door for any other decentralized products in the crypto space that operate in a decentralized manner similar to Bitcoin, hence Ethereum. So that just seems like a likely scenario for them to go the exact same route. The exact same thing's going to happen to Ethereum,
Right?
unless the SEC comes out, puts their foot down, and says proof of stake is not decentralized. It is in control of people with a lot of stake in the company. Hence, Ethereum. You hold Ethereum. You make decisions. You have voting power. Unless they come out and take a hardline stance like that, because Gary Gensler, he has not said Ethereum is a security. He's more or less stayed mute, but other SEC commissioners prior to him have stated that Ethereum is decentralized. Game's a little different now, but unless they take a hardline stance on that, there's really nothing stopping Ethereum from making the same moves Bitcoin did in succession when it comes to the ETFs.
Yeah. Now, we've had James Seyfert on our show. He is one of the lead ETF analysts at Bloomberg. And when he first came on our show, he's been on our show twice. When he first came on our show before any of this Grayscale stuff, 51%. He was 50-50 on a spot ETF. Then when he heard some news about Grayscale's decision, before the decision landed, he bumped it up to 65%. And they just tweeted out, Eric, which is his colleague, who is a senior ETF analyst, they have bumped up their approval odds of a spot ETF to 75%. And I just want to note, these guys were completely spot on with the futures ETF. When a lot of people were saying there's no way, they were saying, we believe the probabilities are high, we're going to get a futures ETF. And guys, I would definitely recommend follow James Seyfert at JSEYFF. And we look forward to bringing him on the show again. And so I agree with Robin. It's coming. We're almost to the you win stage, right? We're still in the they fight you stage. People like Gary Gensler are trying to keep the gray area as large as possible so they can sue people. They can pick and choose the winners, which is obviously wrong. But they're getting backed into a corner by judges and by the legal system, which is what it's there to do. And so I'm happy to see that happening. And it's only a matter of time. He's going to run out of runway. He's going to run out of gray area. He's going to run out of time. And people are getting sick of it. And it's only a matter of time before his staunchest allies in Congress turn against him. Because how are you going to go against judges? How are you going to go against lawyers? And I mean, to me, it's common sense. So that is all we got for the show today. Do want to give one last shout out to channel sponsor Cam's Blue Wire Technology. If you want to learn how they can help your business, visit bluewiretech.com. Also, guys, go follow us on Twitter at SinCityCrypto1. We are doing a $100 Bitcoin giveaway. It is pinned to the top of our profile, so go check that out. Go cast your vote for what you think Bitcoin's price will be on closing candle day, when a spot ETF gets approved. Go check out our merch store at inandoutcrypto.com. If you're a Whale member, you do get 10% off. So big shout out to all the Whale members. And anything else you gentlemen would like to add?
No.
Like
Nothing.
the pizza capriccioso.
Oh, yes, a capricciola is a pizza.
Go Bitcoin.
Go to
Your Italian
Bitcoin.
accent is pretty bad.
It's very bad.
I like the English one you did yesterday. Yeah, it was better. Better.
Very
It's
much
okay.
better.
It was okay.
It was okay. Anyways, Rocco.
Again.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It was a great show today. It's going to be an even better show tomorrow. So come back, same time, same place, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On behalf of all of us here at Sin City Crypto, we love you guys. See you tomorrow.
Crypto. Everybody know what we here for. Entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in. For big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I split the game, but they gave it. Name the coin, it's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the Whale members. Buy a dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming, hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO control ya. It's over when the finger tornado close ya.